How's it going, everybody? This is Brian Pillman II, and you're listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio.
You're listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio, featuring the Interactive Interview, courtesy of WrestlingEpicenter.com. Welcome back to Interactive Wrestling Radio. My name is James Walsh, and joining me right now on the Newsmaker line is a guy who is a second-generation wrestler. His father is legitimately, and I say this to very few, one of my heroes and one of the guys that made me fall in love with this business. On the line with me right now is Brian Pillman Jr. Mr. Pillman, are you with me?
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
It's great to have you on, man. So how you feeling? For those who haven't been keeping up, you just made your pro debut at the tail end of 2017. How are you feeling about your early days in professional wrestling?
I'm feeling great. I really wanted to end off the year with a bang. A lot of people were trying to protect me and protect my name, trying to tell me to take my baby steps and take it slow in this business and try not to, blow it up too much on the media and try not to, to share everything. But I was too excited, to have my first match. And that's why I went ahead and just jumped in head first. So many people try to reach out and, give me their advice and their 2 cents, whether it's my trainers or just, other people that care. Because everybody wants to see me succeed. And I understand that. But at the end of the day, I just want to be a wrestler. I just want to wrestle. I want to get in that ring. Every second in that ring is something I cherish and stuff. So it brings me closer to my dad in every aspect. So I've never been somebody to hold back, right? So I've just had my first match, and after that, I've already had, I think, 4 now. So I got a match tomorrow night and Saturday, and going up to New York on Monday. I've got 3 dates up there as well. So really, it's just a matter of getting in the ring and getting that experience. And believe it or not, it's just such a great feedback I've been getting as far as my early matches. A lot of people are like, oh, you're only a few matches in, not too bad. But I know I'm really green, and I know a lot of things I can work on and improve on. So even when I'm out there, I can kind of notice it, and I can kind of feel it. I'm like, oh, this could have been better here and stuff. So it's just the fact of knowing where my rough spots are and being able to correct them quickly for the next show, right? Because every time I finish a show, there's always another one on the horizon, whether it's that week or a week later or so. So it's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And I'm so excited to see that you're getting involved. I got to be honest, I was a little surprised because I'm working it out, and you must have been very, very young. I hope I'm not touching on any touchy subjects, but you must have been very young when your dad left us.
Oh yeah, no, anything is nothing's off limits when you're talking to me. And I was about 4 years old, so my memories aren't so fond, but I can always that's kind of why I've come back to wrestling, right? Because I get to hear all the stories about my dad, and it's really quite refreshing to see where I came from and just where my roots are, because they say the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, so I get to learn a little bit about myself in the process. You know what I'm saying?
Excellent. So I saw a prior interview. I like to do my research, and I saw a prior interview you did, and you were talking that you went to college first, and you're kind of a video gamer, and you were before you decided that, hey, I'm gonna try this thing, this wrestling thing. What was it? What was it that finally made it kind of go, now's the time. Now's the time to give this a try?
And it's something I've overlooked in my other interviews when I've been asked similar questions, which I'll kind of clue you in on here is yeah, I was quite a I was a techno geek. I was doing the database stuff in college, and I was playing the video games and just hanging out with those types of people that were easygoing, but we're really opened my mind up to my athleticism. And of course I played football in high school and college lacrosse and stuff, but I kind of I strayed away from that as I started studying more and trying to finish up school. But what really opened my mind up to what the possibilities are with the human body was when I started doing yoga. So it wasn't DDP yoga. This is before I actually discovered that. It was actually a buddy of mine named Parker here in Kentucky that was like, hey, you want to go to a hot yoga class? And I was like, Jesus, no, I got homework, or I'm playing this game with my buddy. Always an excuse to not have to go work out. And then I gave it a shot, and I was like, wow, I can't believe I can bend this way. I can't believe that I'm able to do this. If you slow down this situation and just breathe really slow and really just, capture yourself in that connection, because the connection between the mind and the body is the breath. And I slowly learned that. And I was like, you know what, I'm probably a lot more athletic than I think I am. I probably have a lot more of a chance. And that led to working out. And then the working out led to actually seriously putting on muscle, really. And then all of a sudden I just blew up. You know what I mean? It wasn't like I didn't take anything. I'm not on any shit. It's just like my body naturally developed into this athlete, this male masculine, shape. And it was like, wow, like I really look good. And people were like, man, you look really good. When are you going to start wrestling? And I was like, well, shit, I wasn't even on my radar yet. I was just trying to look good so I could pick up more women, but I think everything in life finds it slowly escalates towards what it's supposed to be, right? I was never supposed to be sitting at a desk. I was never supposed to be, sitting around all day and, being on my ass. I was always meant to be a performer. I was always meant to be an athlete. So I think everything kind of finds a way, whether it's a buddy that, says, hey, you should try this out. There's always little side tracks and crossroads that you go through, but it always finds a way. And I think, in a way, I started off my life in wrestling. I always show people these pictures of the memorial shows when I'm a young kid and I'm surrounded by guys like, Jericho and Regal and, people that came out to my dad's memorial shows just for the sake of remembering him, you know what I mean? Just they performed for him and stuff to raise money for my family. So when I was like 4 years old, and looking back, it's like, wow, it's like I used to be a part of that family, right? And now that I'm getting back into it, and all these guys are reaching me out, giving me their cell phone number, like, hey, follow me back on social media. It's like, wow, I'm part of the wrestling world again. It's a really beautiful feeling to be a part of a family, because for so long I grew up without one, right? So.
Yeah, that was actually going to be my next question. What is your family and those who are close to you? What is their take of your decision to follow in your father's footsteps?
Yeah, so for the longest time, I just my mom, she went down the dark road of drugs and and pill abuse and stuff. So I moved out of the house when I was like 15, moved in with my best friend Paul. But after about a year or so, my Aunt Linda, my dad's sister, she was living in Norwood, and she finally was able to muster up enough capital to buy her own house. And she's like, well, I'm going to buy it in Kentucky so you and your sister can live here. She wasn't really seeing, she didn't have any kids of her own. She wasn't married. So she was like, you know what, you guys are just as much as my children as anybody. So she really started taking care of us. And that's really my family right there. It's my Aunt Linda and my sister Brittany. So they are so supportive, and they've always wanted this. Everyone's always wanted this, which is what's wonderful. But no one ever tried to shove it down my throat, you know what I mean? And that's the beauty of it. No one's ever tried to, force this on me. I kind of found it on my own. So they're just so happy that I finally came around to, because it's just, you look at me and you see somebody special. If I go to Starbucks, or if I'm out at the bar, it's like people come up to me and talk to me because I just look like somebody. You know what I mean? I don't look, I'm not your typical normal person. I kind of have a little bit of character to me. So yeah.
All right. So
the word I was given, because obviously my matches are pretty dodgy at times, but they were like, man, you just have a presence out there. So that's the positive critique I've been getting.
Excellent. Presence is a good thing. So about 5 or 6 years ago, I sent an email to Nick Dinsmore, who was at the time running OVW. I sent him a message and I said, hey, I want to interview Rip Rogers. And his exact response stuck with me for all these years. He said, all right, this should be interesting. Here's his number. And I'll tell you what, it was an interesting conversation with an interesting guy, but I have the utmost respect for him. Thoughts on training under Rip Rogers?
So Rip is very old school, like, as you know. And in his eyes, it's great because he has so much respect for this business. He has so much respect for how it started and how hard it used to be to get in, and the trials and the tribulations you had to go through just to be smartened up. They used to not even smarten anybody up unless they beat the shit out of you. So it was it's really cool to hear about that history and hear those stories. Rip also has stories about my dad from when he worked with my dad. Guys like my dad back then that were athletic, but they weren't wise, because my dad didn't really grow up watching it either. They weren't wise to the business. So they had these veterans that like brought them up and, you know, called them through stuff and just really just took care of them. And, you know, they didn't have to worry about, blowing anything or, you know, or ruining any matches because, you know, they would just beat the fuck out of them. And that's just how that went. So, but Rip is very, you know, Rip's very old school. And I think when you're starting out, that's the best training to get because you do learn that history. You do learn why things are and like what's the reason for a clothesline, like what's the reason for a move, why do we do these things, why in how you set up a psychology and how do you develop a match all comes down to that core. But I think for young guys, you know, looking to expand, it's always good to reach out and start training in different places and learn different styles and stuff. And I'll always go back to OVW as my, you know, as kind of my starting place and stuff. But recently I've been training with a guy named Dave Christ. You know, he's got more of that indie flair, more of that lucha
from OVE
to him.
From Impact Wrestling.
Yeah. So yeah, like, and it's cool because they train on different days. So as long as I'm not booked on the weekends, I'm able to get down to Rips and everything Rip says is just pure gold, pure knowledge and history. And he still loves the business so much. And you can see that even though, you know, where he's at today, he still has to kind of work and maintain himself. It's like he's lived one hell of a life. And I think that's what we all strive to do. We all strive to have fun and live a hell of a life. You know, some people make it super big and, you know, they retire off of wrestling. Some people have to work a side job their whole life, but I think it's the road, you know, it's the road you travel along the way and it's the people you meet and it's the people that you really connect with that makes it all worthwhile.
I would agree. Somebody that was a friend of your dad's, I'll say, was talking about that they were concerned that you were thinking about going to train with Lance Storm because of his lack of, I don't know, charisma, considering your dad was so much in with the charisma and Lance Storm is the opposite. I guess my question is, conventional wisdom was that you trained under Lance Storm, but from prior interviews I listened to you, it sounds like that was not the case. Did you ever end up training with Lance?
No, I did go to Canada for the 3-month program with Lance, and I have to recommend it for everyone because Lance he was trained, you know, he was trained up in Calgary as well, and he learned from the old Hart Legacy camp and stuff, and he really understands the basics of just everything, fundamental down to footwork. I mean, he's such a good athlete too, and he's so talented as far as physical athleticism. But in a way, he's so good that he's a little too perfect, and like you said, he lacks that charisma to make it look, you know, real and emotional. But what people don't understand about Lance is, although he might lack that charisma, like on the mic or in the ring, like, you know, with his body language charisma, he's actually very smart to it. He's very analytical. He reads a lot of books. He's actually a very creative person. I think he understands like the structure of telling a story, and he understands everything about the psychology of a match. Right. I just think that when people watch Lance Storm, they don't connect with him because he is such a different person. There's not very many people because he doesn't do drugs. He doesn't drink beer. He's never done any steroids or anything. So he's so clean cut. He's so above the cut that he doesn't really emotionally connect with anyone, which is where people might see that he lacks charisma, but he knows, like he has the knowledge of how things work, so he can put it into words and he can teach. He's a very good teacher, but in a way he's a little too strict of a teacher where he might not let you per se adventure outside the box or do something weird, you know, where my dad had the opposite personality. Like when I look at Lance's personality and my dad's personality, I just see two completely opposite people. Absolutely. And it's kind of like the difference between Jericho and Lance, right? They were best friends, but Jericho was the charismatic partier that, you know, got to know people. And Lance was very much, okay, you know, this spot has to be perfect. Like my feet are going to be here, you know, boom, 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 you know, yada, yada, where, you know, Jericho was more of like, you know, he liked it stiff, you know, he liked it fucking, you know, a little bit sloppier than, you know what I mean? So
exactly, yeah. Two
different guys, and you're putting on two different matches on the card, and that's what you want in wrestling. You want a variety of stuff, and you know, I mean, Lance is the greatest basics teacher and trainer, and like I said, it's the same with Rip, where they kind of have that. This is how wrestling is. This is how it needs to be. But when I'm a young guy, you know, I'm 24, so when I'm growing up in this generation with all these indie guys that are making it big and finally getting signed by the WWE, it's like their type of training is like, let's just do this and have fun. Like, let's just flip around. Let's do some cool stuff. Let's slap our fucking legs. Like, who gives a damn? Because the crowd loves it. and we're all having fun, right?
Right.
Where it used to be, wrestling used to be all about, oh, the marks don't need to know, like, we're gonna fool them and shit. And, it's all about, you know what I mean? And it's like, where now it's like, it's more of a family with the marks and with the fans. Like, we hang out with the fans after the show. We talk to them and stuff. It's not like, oh, we're fucking fooling you. It's like, no, this is a legit backflip. This is a legit fucking, hip toss or whatever, because we're actually going in, as high as we can. We're putting the performance to the next level, where it's just a lot, how the difference is between indie, and old school, right? So.
Oh yeah, yeah. In fact, Rip Rogers, the famous tweet,
But everything goes back to what those older trainers have taught you, right? So it's like, at the end of the day, if you have a mixture of everything, if you have a mixture of emotion, you have a mixture of high spots, and you have a mixture of just just good fundamentals. Like when you take that turnbuckle and you just look like you got killed, that's what makes a good match. Slow, paceful stuff with a lot high explosive stuff, right?
Exactly. All right. So, like I mentioned, I grew up watching your dad. I consider him one of my, heroes when it comes to professional wrestling. I got to ask you, as his son, when you go back and watch some matches from your dad's career, are there any matches that stand out for you as your favorites that he had?
Oh, it's funny because it's like everybody loves like his Flying Brian and his babyface stuff, and then there's the other crowd that likes all the loose cannon stuff. But I really like his in between. I really like his heel matches. Before he did the whole loose cannon thing, but like after he was like the babyface Flying Brian. So like if you look at Hollywood Blondes, I really like that. Like he was a really good heel. Not a lot of people remember him for just his pure heel work. You know what I mean? He was very much a ring general. He got a really good match out of Luger, which a lot of people were trying to do at the time, and finally he got that out of him. And a lot of people just, you watch his matches and it's like he just does so much funny heel stuff, and you can just tell he's having a good time out there. And the crowd's like booing him, but in a way they're like cheering him too, because they just love him they just love his character, right? But they're still booing him because he's so good as a heel, But yeah, I really enjoy his heel work. I think right now I'm just a generic babyface, but so many times in a match I just want to fire back and start showing off my aggressive side. And I think sooner or later that's just going to come out. I'm going to have to throw these trunks in the garbage and put on a pair of fucking ripped jeans and just hit the ring, and just beat the shit out of somebody. So, I think everybody has their natural tendencies, and you can never override them. You know what I mean? You'll always be better at what you are naturally, right? So I'm just waiting for nature to take over, and then that's when I'll start to really shine.
Absolutely. So if you go to Walmart right now, you can see a WCW Brian Pillman action figure on the shelf. If you play the WWE video games, many of them have Brian Pillman on there. Obviously, the perfect fit would be for you to be in WWE. Is that your mecca? Is that your objective?
I can always tell people this. It's not really my decision, but it is my end goal, right? So my main goal right now is to wrestle and become as good as I can, because if you look at the scene today, a lot of guys are making money outside of the WWE. A lot of people are building up their following, they're building up their social media and their influence in the industry, as you so to speak. So it's very important that you show that initiative, because if the WWE takes a look at me and says, wow, this guy is really pushing on his own, he's really starting to make some waves in the industry, we want to sign him, then that's going to be more worth my while than me just texting the people I have in my phone, like, hey, let me get a tryout. I could go that way. I could say, you know what, I'm ready for a tryout. Can I get one? And then they're going to be like, oh, like he needs us, So it's like, in a way, I just want to show them that I'm a product that is worthwhile to seek out. Obviously I'm not going to be like, oh, and try to negotiate a bunch of crap, but it's like, I just want to show them a little bit of fire. I want to show them a little bit of, I'm doing this on my own right now. Let me know when you want me and when you think I'm ready. Cause in a way too, they don't have to, I can get better without them having to pay for me to be in the performance center. And that frees up room for them to work on the guys that they've got. Meanwhile, I could be on the road traveling and getting better, maybe go to Japan if that's in my future, stuff like that. I just like to keep it open, keep my options open, learn what it's like to fend for myself. Cause for so many years, that's how this business worked, is people had to fend for themselves and really get out there and stuff and really learn how to run a business, because every wrestler is like a small business. Everybody's trying to, everyone's trying to make money out there. And at the end of the day, that's what we got to do as humans to survive. But at the same time, we're doing it for fun. And, sometimes you're doing it just because you love it. And sometimes you show up and they're like, hey, the card's already booked. We don't have any extra money, but we can get you somebody to wrestle, give you 5 to 8 minutes. And it's like, you know what, I'll just do it. You know what I mean? They're not advertising my name. They're not whoring me out on there. Then they don't need to pay me. But because I just want to get better than that. There might come a time where it's like, okay, the bumps are racking up. I can't be working for free. But every now and then, every, couple matches, if you can find a booking somewhere where they're like, well, we'll sneak you in there, then you just take it. You take it because you want to work everywhere you can. And once I start building up that confidence and that repertoire of moves that people really are just like, okay, this guy's the real deal, then, I can start racking up, what I'm charging and stuff.
There was a guy we had on a long time ago. His name was the Masked Superstar Demolition Axe. And he was talking about a kid that he was working with. And the kid said, I'm a 10-year veteran. And he said, really? How many matches have you had? And he said, oh, I've had about 30. He said, then you've been wrestling for 1 month. And I thought that was I thought that was like the purpose put down. Yeah.
Yeah, it's right. Like I trained for 6 months, but I've had 4 matches in a month, right? So.
There you go. You're doing great, man. I appreciate you coming on and doing this with us. I wish you the best of luck. And as a fan, like I said, of your dad's, you're not resting on the family name. You're doing this on your own. You're building it on your own. And I appreciate that as a fan of your dad's, that you're doing it the right way. So take that as a tip of the cap, because I could be a crotchety old bastard sometimes.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. Before I let you off the phone, do you mind if I ask for a little favor from you?
No, go ahead.
Do you mind if I ask for a station ID saying this is Brian Pillman Jr. and you're listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio?
Of course.
All right. Do you want me to count you down?
Sure.
All right. We'll do the whole Wayne's World. We'll do 5, 4, 3, 2.
How's it going, everybody? This is Brian Pillman, the second of his name, and you're listening to International Wrestling Radio?
Interactive Wrestling Radio.
Okay.
Almost.
Okay.
You just missed it.
Interactive Wrestling Radio. Okay.
We want to do one more?
We'll roll one more.
All right. I appreciate it. 5, 4, 3, 2.
How's it going, everybody? This is Brian Pillman the second, and you're listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio.
This is the Total Package, Lex Luger. You are on the Wrestling Epicenter. Don't get off.
The Wrestling Epicenter has been around since 2002, and in that time, all of these guests, everybody pictured, has been on our podcast. We're more than just a radio show, though, so check out WrestlingEpicenter.com for all your wrestling news and needs.